Yes, sir, please.
I'm Douglas Hall, and I'm so glad to be filmed by this expert photographer here. I can't see his face. All I can see is a piece of metal.
Yes.
Where did you say that? Hudson?
So, what do you do?
Because
Where
it
do you
says-
live? What do
oh,
you
no.
do?
Well, I live in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
South
yeah.
End, and
So-
we're in my home right now.
So I
And
set up,
we were. It was
Word.
this house was made available to us very cheaply,
Word.
and so we're very happy to be here.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, could you just tell me a little bit about people's election?
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
Word was in
when we came to the South End,
in the Microsoft.
it was a very poor area.
This one.
Very
No.
poor people living in it, and wealthy people lived outside the
Word
area and
was
so
in,
forth. And what was happening is that all the things that were being done
So I set
to make the
this up.
thing
I had
better
to,
by outside people was making it
update
worse.
it and give
And
myself an account.
even though they were trying to do good things. So we had trouble discerning who was doing the most damage.
I made a silly.
The criminal element or the
Which is
people that
nothing.
were meaning to do well but were doing
I
bad.
can actually make a document as long as I'm on the.
And so what we
So I
figured
found
out
out I
really
have to be
is
on
that
the
when
internet
things
to
are
do
going to
it.
change,
So,
they
let's
have
something
to.
Excuse,
To
excuse me.
use Word,
Can you have lower your voice
you
a
have
little
to be
bit,
on
please?
the internet, because that's what this
Okay,
is.
uh-huh.
Judy, I wanted you to be quiet a bit. So when things are going to change, they have to change from inside the system.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot bring things just from the outside and make a change. You have to change the interior part of the system. You have to find life wherever it is, even if it's very small, and nurture the little life that's there. So what we did is we found some people here that wanted to change the way the government was operating in this city, which was producing so many problems. And so they held a people's election, which Mel King was part of the whole thing that began it. And they set up very democratic kind of rules. It was very, very well done. It was, you just imagine the most ideal democratic system you could put together, and that's what we did. And so they elected people for certain positions, but they had no power. They had nothing. They were not a threat to anybody because they had no political power or any kind of power. But it taught people how a democratic system works and how you can create, voting for people. You have to prepare for the fact that when it's all elected, these people have no no authority or power. But in a sense, they have shown people how an election works. So that was the people's election. And what happened was, as the people's election began to do these things, people sort of looked at it and began to respect what was happening. And it gradually changed how the city was doing things, because they had a model for something that was different that the people were doing themselves. So that's how it worked.
And so the government will look at the people's election or the elected officials from the people who didn't really have power
Yeah.
and what the people wanted.
Right, yes, and then the people were able to express their own desires and so forth. We also did community organization work at the same time, where you try to mobilize people to work in their neighborhood. And you start, the way we started some of that was, you would start with something that you really knew you could do well with. Okay, so for instance, there was a big junkyard in the city that was causing all kinds of rats and everything to grow there. Okay, the man that owned the junkyard was not a powerful person. He was not he's not really making much money. In fact, he may even want to have closed his junkyard. So what we did is we organized all the people to oppose the junkyard. And so what they did is, and then they made him move. Well, he wanted to probably move anyway, but it gave the people, oh, if we come together, we can do something. And so they picked out something that was very possible and got the people involved in it, and then it produced a good result. The thing that we've always followed when we do any of these kinds of things is what we call the process of the gospel. You start by observing the community and the people and see where the life is, where there are good people there and so forth. And then you fall in love with the community and its people. You fall in love with the real people who live there. And then you develop a system where you communicate with those people and they with you. And then you start to, after your communication, you start to try to meet perceived needs of the people. Things that they think are important, not what you think are important. And then you try to basically produce things that they think are important, and you pick out things that really have a high possibility of working anyway. But it gives them a feeling that they have done something. And so then it begins some vitality within the system. So you try to find, the thing has to come from inside the community, not stuff from the outside. And you have to build and find the vitality there and develop it.
So in Africa, for example, do you think the best way to solve some of the big problems in Africa may not come from Washington or Europe or other places?
Oh no, those kind of things can actually create problems more than anyone imagines. That stuff will continue. You'll always have it, and some of it will do a small amount of good. But basically, real change has to come from inside the community, from the people themselves. They have to change it. And so you got to find the vitality and nurture the internal dynamics of the city.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's amazing.